Welcome to the Beautiful Me Club, where you can have yourself a ball, where you can find a lot of love. If you're stable, not so stable, whatever you have on your table, we're able to fix it, mend it, talk it out, cry it out, and shout. Leave your woes me, girl, I'm trying to make it. I guess I am alright. Leave your money tight, my man ain't right out in the wind tonight. We came here to party, to smile, to get you me on for a while, to get your groove back, honey child. So get your cute on, let's get wild. And beautiful me baby, that's what I call myself. I live my attitude on the shelf. It's about me and no one else but beautiful you.
Tonight, I would like to welcome all of our guests that will be here to entertain you. We have Ms. Shav Anderson, student from Suffolk University. We have Ms. Yvette Modestin, who will be sharing some very, very important information with us tonight about living in these two worlds. So check it out and let us know what you think. But to open the show tonight, we have Ms. Asha Hershey, who is going to perform the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice. Thank you.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let it resound loud as a rolling sea.
Thank you, Miss Asha, for that lovely, lovely rendition of Lift Every Voice and Sing the Black National Anthem. I'm your host, Crystal Chandler, and with me I have a very lovely lady, Miss Yvette Modestin. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here with you.
I'm so glad to have you on. Now, I ambushed you after an event at Emmanuel College, and it was talking about Black and Latina girls and women, and what it means to be Black and Latina, and what it means to be at the intersections of those two identities, right? I just had to have you on. I was like, this woman's amazing. But little did I know, you are the founder of an awesome organization called Encuentro, Diaspora, Afro, right?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that. What is Encuentro, and what made you decide to begin such an organization?
Well, thank you for inviting me and for sticking to making sure that this was going to happen. Encuentro came out of my experience coming here directly from Panama, coming here as a college student, and seeing firsthand that there was a disconnect between people of African descent, that we didn't know our common history, and then there was a disconnect with Latinos in acknowledging their African history. So I was constantly put in this position to pick one or the other when I functioned very strongly as both, even though my Blackness has defined my experience. So in 2004, I had a 2-day conference where I didn't know anything about doing a conference. I said, we need to have a gathering of Afro-Latinos in Boston, because I started to see that other Afro-Latinos, Black Latinos, did not have a space where they could talk about these struggles. So we created a 2-day conference. And out of that conference, I realized that we really wanted an ongoing space to do this. And that's where Encuentro came out of. And Encuentro, in translation in English, is the gathering, the coming together, the acknowledging. So it's about acknowledging the African presence in the African diaspora presence, but specifically to put the word in Spanish was the African presence in Latin America. And, you know, we have, we see ourselves, Afro-Latinos are the bridges of understanding between African Americans and Latinos, and that's what Encuentro tries to do, is to sort of address that conflict that exists between Latinos and African Americans and come from a place of commonality versus this place of we speak a different language or we were born somewhere else, but we were dropped off everywhere. And that's the part that we really need to understand. And some of us were imposed to speak English, and some of us are imposed to speak French, and some of us were imposed to speak Spanish. But at the end of the day, we are connected as people of African descent. We do have indigenous blood and we have European blood, but that whole thought process that there's a Latin American country that doesn't have an African history does not exist.
It's so true.
So that's where, you know, Encuentro is coming from. And then sort of doing the trainings, the events that you came to constantly put that message out. And even being here today, the beginning of Black History Month, I'm Black every day. So, you know, that's a whole nother conversation. But to put the Afro-Latino, Black Latino context in that African American context, that history is important. You know, one of the stories that we put on Encuentro's page today was about John Rodriguez, who was the first African in Manhattan who happened to have been born in Santo Domingo.
Oh.
You know, so those are some of the things that we're constantly challenging folks to think outside of the box and to create a new narrative that is more inclusive and not this sort of separate, you know, piece.
I love it. So tell me a little bit more about some of the events that Encuentro does, because I know the event that I went to where you're talking about, you know, what it means to be Black and Latina and what it means to be a combination of the two, right? But what else do you guys do?
Well, that event was that, but the purpose of that event was we have had a lot of killing of Black young men. The Michael Browns, the Tamir Rice, the Trayvon Martin, the Laquan McDonald. But we've also had the group of women that have been killed. At least 15 plus women, Black women, have been killed by police or in police incident. And Sandra Bland has really stood out for me. To me, Sandra Bland is me. Because I would have been one of those, I am that woman that if I would have gotten stopped, I would have asked questions. And that's all she did.
Definitely, and that's your right to.
Exactly, and then to see that she ended up dead 3 days after in a jail cell for that traffic stop. And also the young women from South Carolina that were basically dragged on the floor in a classroom for not giving up a cell phone. Encuentro has a youth program in the Margarita Muniz Academy for young boys and young girls. If anyone works with teenagers, it's almost impossible for them to give up that phone. But to see that for her to give up that phone, it led to her getting dragged and pulled was concerning to me. So that event that you came to was about us seeing ourselves in each other and seeing what this was doing to Black women. We've had the events around sort of the Black men. We're very much, Encuentro, myself as an activist, a writer, and a poet, very much a part of the Black Lives Matter movement and what that means. We've had conversations around reparations. I sit on the National African American Reparations Commission. Oh, wow. So I feel like reparations is an issue that we need to begin to speak about. We've had issues of events about music, because we don't make that connection that music is across the board. One of the places where we make the connection around food, issues around hair, because you know how we are about hair, and issues about spirituality and love that we don't talk about enough, because even in that context, we have been given such negative images of stuff that have allowed us to survive as long as we have, anywhere we stand.
Definitely. Now I want to dig deeper into, I mean, you just hit me with a lot of information, and I was just like, yes. I definitely want to talk about the idea. Let's start off with a little bit of the music, and how music really can connect the Afro Latino community. Tell me a little bit about that.
I mean, one of, the early events that we had when I realized that folks may not always want to hear us talk about this, that you need to do it in a very different ways. Sometimes we have speaking events, we've had movies, we've had art, we've had poetry, and then we have music. Sometimes music can make a connection in a different way. The drum across the board in any genre of music is a common theme that starts from Africa.
Definitely.
So when you look at the drum and where it comes into salsa, where it comes into merengue, where it comes into reggae, where it comes in now to reggaeton, it's at the base. Definitely. And that base comes from this source. And we need to acknowledge that source to then understand jazz or, or soul music, hip hop, like that's that deeper connection, it's the heart of who we are. You hear a drum and it's almost impossible to sit still because that's how,
your foot or
absolutely,
clap your
that's how
something.
Our ancestors woke themselves up. When you think about the Haitian Revolution and how they decided to plan what they did, get themselves ready, it was in the middle of a drum ceremony, an ancestor ceremony with the drums that got them ready to do what they did. So the music is at our core, and I think for some folks they make that deeper connection through that.
Definitely. So tell me, since you say you were born in Panama, yep, I love it.
Proud
yes,
Panamanian.
Very proud. So tell me, how have you kept in contact with your roots living in America? Do you travel home a lot, or what are some of the things
I have one foot in, one foot out. that's a constant at all times. My dad is still home. My family is still home. I was shaped by this very strong, visually beautiful Black community. And, I'm from Colon, to be specific, which is an area that does not get the credit that it's due. And, I knew I was Black before I came to the U.S. I think Blackness gets redefined in such negative context here that you find yourself having to respond to it in a different way. And in that different way, I chose not to minimize what I came from as an immigrant from Panama, and what I've become as a Black writer, poet, activist in the U.S. And then now I get to go home and address stuff at home because I also do work at home. I sit as the Diaspora coordinator for the network of Afro Latin American and Afro Caribbean women. So I get to travel to all Latin American countries and sit with Black women that look like me and you in Argentina and in Peru and in Bolivia and in Nicaragua and in Ecuador. We are everywhere. Definitely. We all look the same, the only thing that, we all come in different shades and different sizes and different hair. But when you see us all together, we are Black women, we are Afro-descendant women with different accents. That's it. That's the only thing that I think that separates us.
I absolutely love it. Now, you are also a writer and a poet. So, I mean, I feel like you have such a strong sense of your own experience. And I know that comes with time, right? So how do you incorporate that into your writing, into your poetry, your experience?
Well, see, I was raised to love what I come from, to love myself. I heard I love you in my own house. I didn't have to hear it outside. I come from a level of pride from Jamaican, Bajan, and Martinican grandparents.
Bajan right
that
here.
I was like, you don't do this. You constantly are like this. You sit up. You honor it. You hold tight to it. And I didn't let that, my experiences here were very painful. And I could have been in a corner, whining about it or complaining about it. But I decided to speak up against it and speak up about it, tell our story. And I think as Encuentro developed, I realized that it was other ways to do that also. So I have my blog, and then I wrote one of my first pieces for the Afro-Latino book, History and Culture in the U.S. That was a newspaper piece that I had written for the Sojourner Women's newspaper that they had asked me to extend. And now I'm 7 books in, 2 poetry books at home, 3 books coming out this year. So writing was another way, like I shared, like music and all this was another way to get the message across, because for some folks it's easier to read also.
Wow, you just radiate inspiration. It's amazing. And you were actually named one of the 30 Afro-Latinas that you should know, right?
Yes.
That is
that
pretty
list.
big. that is
list.
big.
Yeah.
You weren't number 100. You're one of 30.
I know, right? You sound like my sister. She's like, you're number what? So yes, I'm very humbled and honored, because this is not about, if someone would have said you would have gotten all of this, I would have been like, really? It's about the purpose of it. This is bigger than me. This is bigger than Encuentro, Diaspora, Afro. Definitely. This is bigger than that list. We still are not seen in our human light. And until that day arrives, we still have a lot to do. So making the list is a wonderful thing, because it speaks to those who have guided me to this journey. But I want that next year in the Oscars, we don't have to be talking about Oscars so white, because we deserve to be nominated, period. And it's not about who's doing what for us, but who is seeing us for who we are as human beings, as talented actors, writers, dancers, athletes. Serena shouldn't have to be talking about her body when she's whipping everyone on the tennis court. Let's leave it at that, or Misty Copeland. Like, when those moments arrive, or when that young girl in South Carolina, when folks don't say there's 2 wrongs, but that there was one wrong in someone physically abusing that young child, then, then I'll be like, oh, okay, I'll take it. But I'm still, I want it to be not just a month.
Definitely.
I want it to be every day.
Definitely.
And that allow our light to shine.
That was literally like the first thing I posted on my social media. I was like, Happy Black History Month, but let's keep the momentum going the other 11 months out the year, because that's so important. And I think you bring up a good point that, being Black and Latina, it's not 2 separate things.
No.
Like, we have Black History Month and we have Hispanic Heritage Month, but, why not combine them, right? What about the people who walk at the intersections of those 2? Like, oh, okay, you can celebrate your Black half this month, you can celebrate your Latina half, later down the line. So,
but the thing is that it's still the same thing.
Exactly, and that's the thing. That's the point.
You can be both. There's no need to separate, but it's still the same thing, because Panama's population is a large African population. So Panama is considered, it's a Black place. My community, Colon, is predominantly Black. I just did a presentation last week here with a Boston report, and it says that the 2 largest communities in Massachusetts for Latinos are Puerto Rican and Dominicans. Now, in Puerto Rico, 50+% of them are people of African descent. In Dominican Republic, 80%, to be modest, are people of African descent. Those are the folks that are coming here. So how we identify ourselves, moving beyond the color of our skin, even if the color of because what's happening to Latinos is, even with the color of our skin, we are not self-accepting of our Blackness. So, okay, let's go to the roots. Understand your roots if you can't just embrace the skin. So there is no separating it, because it's a constant. When you and I get on the bus, and I'm sure anyone that's looking on this show now, if I broke out into my hola, ¿cómo están? Yo me llamo Yvette Modestin. Yo soy nacida y criada en Panamá. They would be like, I did not expect that to come out of your mouth. But when you and I get on a bus, people just see 2 Black women.
Yeah.
So we can't get caught up with, the language or what country, because at the end of the day, we have a common Black experience.
Definitely. And we're all one, and we should definitely be united.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, I know it's, like, really easy, you know, especially for young people. Like, you walk the line between, like, who am I? Trying to find yourself. Where do I fit in? What do you say to the young people out there who, you know, may be struggling with that? Because I know, like, in America, everything is so, like, black and white. Like, you're Black or you're Latina or you're this or you're that. Like, you know, there's rarely spaces where you're allowed to be your whole self at one time. So what do you say to the young
And that's
people?
why I created the two programs. His project is Hermanos in Solidarity, and her project, Hermanas Exchanging Roots, that I have in the high school. Because I saw that. If I didn't have the base that I came from, I would have been one of those very confused young people when I came here, even though I was a young adult, as a college student. But I see it in my young people. They're with me once a week where they get it. They fully embrace themselves. They accept who they are. But they still have to go home.
Definitely.
Where they're told, you're not Black, you're Dominican, you're not Black, you're Puerto Rican, you're not Black, you're Colombian, because Black is bad and white is good.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they leave their house, they have Black experiences.
Definitely.
When my young boys come and they get stopped by an officer or get followed in the store, that has nothing to do with the fact that they speak Spanish, because they haven't opened their mouth yet. That has to do with who they are and how people see them. So that's one of the first questions we ask in our curriculum is, how do you identify yourself and how do you think others identify you? And that's a really important question for all of us to answer, because then when you have these very jarring experiences, then you understand that you are not seen the way you even perceive your own self. So for the young people, it's about taking them through the process and giving them the space to ask the question. Very difficult question. You know, I think society now puts them in this very schizophrenic world that they live Black lives outside of their homes, this whatever white life their parents or family tries to have them live, and then society as a whole sees them as a number, as a status, as already failing, and this is a space for them to, you know, say this openly and have a conversation about it.
Definitely, and I think that's huge too, because even I think about the media and all of the things that we digest on a daily basis, whether we are conscious of it or not, and just all of the different messages as well, and that's so important because, you know, to have a space to say, okay, I can come here, be my whole self, understand my whole self. I think that's so important.
And the girls with hair and skin,
it's a whole nother situation.
And size. We don't see real women or real young girls on TV or in the magazines. So they're going with images that are not realistic in any shape or form.
Definitely.
So by the time they get to us, it's about, do you know that was Photoshop? You know, like I want to be like her, but then you're like, let's skin off all that stuff and get to who this person really is.
Definitely.
So they're really given very conflicting messages.
Definitely. Well, Miss Yvette, I have had a wonderful time speaking with you. You are just a pleasure to speak with.
Wonderful.
Definitely. And I would love to have you back on. I feel you are a book of knowledge, whether it's your poetry or your writing or to, you know, keep us up to date with what you're doing. I'd love to have you back as well.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. And thank you all for watching the Somerville Line. It's been an awesome way to kick off Black History Month. Thank you to Asha. Thank you to Chavonnet, to our other Yvette. Now we have two Yvettes, our producer and director, Yvette, to Sandy, to Henry, to Susan, to, who am I missing? To everyone here at SCAT TV. Thank you so much for allowing us this platform to showcase our show, and we will be back next week with another awesome show. So see you then.
Welcome to the Beautiful Me Club, where you can have yourself a ball, where you can find a lot of love. If you're stable, not so stable, whatever you have on your table, we're able to fix it, mend it, talk it out, cry it out, and shout. Leave your worries me, girl, I'm trying to make it. I guess I am alright. Leave your money tight, my man ain't right out in the wind tonight. We came here to party, to smile, to get your me on for a while, to get your groove back, honey child. So get your cute on, let's get wild. And beautiful me baby, that's what I call myself. I leave my attitude on the shelf. It's about me and no one else but beautiful you baby. I'm talking dollars and not cents. It's not arrogance but confidence. So pick your head up and come on in. There's no drama, I'm saying, and no haters up in this spot. You treat it like the queen that you are. Here you walk the red carpet like a superstar. And beautiful you baby, and beautiful me too. I tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna party like tonight is through. Beautiful you, and beautiful me too. Beautiful you, and beautiful me too. Beautiful you, yeah, and beautiful me too. Beautiful you, beautiful you. Be excited, you're invited to take a part in our new spot. Here you're not judged by what you got. Everything and everybody here is hot, cause the Beautiful Me Club, baby, it is a party of the mind. Here your self-esteem is sure to climb, so put your troubles down and let's unwind. Beautiful you, and beautiful me too. Beautiful you, and beautiful me too. Beautiful you, yeah, and beautiful me too. Beautiful you, beautiful you. Da 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 da. A shoo do 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 do. Da 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 da. A beautiful you. Da 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 da. A beautiful you. Da 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 da. Beautiful you, beautiful you, beautiful you, and beautiful me too. Beautiful you, and beautiful me too. Beautiful you, yeah, and beautiful me too. Beautiful you, beautiful you.